Assalamu alaikum everybody, welcome to day one of Seriously Arabic. Arabic, if you have a look at this Venn diagram, you can consider this to be the universe of the Arabic language. So the entirety of the language can be broken up into two sections. You have spoken or colloquial Arabic, and this is the Arabic that is spoken in dialects, the Arabic that is spoken nowadays. Very simple, it's definitely nothing like classical Arabic. And classical Arabic is actually much greater, much bigger, and definitely much more complex than the spoken colloquial Arabic because it's the Arabic that was spoken by the ancient Arabs. And that's the one that we are trying to learn and understand, and the Quran is written in classical Arabic. And then you have a smaller portion of classical Arabic called Fusha. Fusha Arabic is the Arabic that's written in newspapers, in articles, and it's the one that's written in letters as well. It's the formal Arabic basically. So what happens is the languages, as they move with time, they obviously evolve, and because of that, societies also get like more globally connected. You're not gonna have metaphors and complicated language in a business transaction. You're gonna have simple language, which is why language gets simpler and simpler and simpler, and that's why classical Arabic also seems really hard. So we're gonna start off from the very basic. We have three types of words in Arabic. You have the harfun. It's a word which makes no sense on its own. It needs to have something else it needs to have something else with it in order to make sense. For example, the word from. You can't just say from what, from where. You have to have something else with it in order to create a phrase that at the very least makes sense, even though the sense isn't complete. The phrase is not going to be complete, but it will make some kind of sense. But the word from on its own makes no sense. And then you have fi'lun. This is a word that is stuck in time, either in the present, past, or future tense. Words like studied, for example. I did this in the past. And ism in Arabic, it's a noun, yes, but it's much more than a noun. It also includes adjectives, includes pronouns, it includes adverbs, which are words like happily that end with li, or it can even be words like at that moment, since, and even more. Now we're gonna start off from the hardest one, which is ism. And every ism you're ever gonna come across in Arabic has four distinct properties. And number one is gender, which is jins. You have number, you have the type, and you have the status. And we're gonna look through status, which is the hardest one. So in Arabic, there are three forms of status. You have the rafa, and a word that is in the state of rafa, you call it marfu'. Then you have nasab, and a word that is in the state of nasab, you call it mansub. And you have the jar state, and a word that is in the state of jar, you call it majrur. If you have a look at this example in here, I threw a ball, my brother caught it, and he passed it back to me. The words I, my, and me, they mean the same thing. But even though they mean the same thing, they cannot be substituted with one another. Depending on the function of each, you can only use one of them. So if I'm going to be doing something, I have to say I threw a ball. You can't say my threw a ball. You can't even say me threw a ball. This doesn't make sense. This would be wrong in grammar. And this is really what this is a bit like i'rab. So a word in Arabic, it changes depending on the function that it plays, depending on what state it is. The halat of a word changes the i'rab. So the halat are these. So the rafa, nasab, and jar. Words in Arabic change depending on what function they play in the sentence, and that function is represented by the status. So the rafa shows one particular aspect of that noun, and we'll have a look at that with other examples. So one thing that you need to understand is that the halat of a word, basically these rafa, nasab, and jar, they change the i'rab of the word, as we have seen. So in this case, the doer, because I am the doer, I can't say the word me, I have to use the word I. And in that sense, that this word has been changed. This word changes according to the status of the word. Okay, now we have these sentences over here, and let's highlight the fi'l, the verb of the action, because these states, they revolve around the fi'l. So we have a teacher entered the classroom, the verb is entered. The verb in the child of his was sleeping soundly is sleeping. Zainab's daughter run fast, the verb is run. Now let's highlight who is the doer of the action. A teacher entered, so that is the doer. The child of his was sleeping soundly. The child is the doer. And Zainab's daughter ran fast. The doer of the action is daughter. Now, Arabs, they consider the doer of the action to be in the rafa state. They consider the doer of the action to be in the rafa state. So the word child is also rafa, and the word daughter is also rafa. Why is it rafa? Because it represents the doer. So what is rafa? Rafa is a state that represents the doer of the action or the subject of the sentence. The rafa represents the doer of the action. Now let's have a look at other parts of the sentence. A teacher entered. What did the teacher enter? She entered the classroom. The child of his was sleeping. How did he sleep? Soundly. Zainab's daughter ran fast. How did she run? Fast. All of these things that I have highlighted, they answer a question about the fi'l. Okay, so this classroom is the answer to what and what did he enter, or what did she enter. And soundly is how was the child sleeping, and this is also the answer of how fast. How was the daughter running? She was running fast. So all of these are details about the verb. And when you have details about the verb, they're going to be in the nasab state. So the nasab state represents details about the fi'l. This isn't the only thing it represents. It represents other things as well. But for now, you have to learn that nasab state is the state that represents details about the fi'l, and it answers direct questions about the fi'l. Questions like what, when, how, why, even. As for the question who did the action, that is the rafa. Okay, who did the action is not a detail about the action. Who did the fi'l is going to represent the doer of the action. It's going to tell us the doer of the action. So who, the answer to the question who, will be rafa. As for the answer to the other questions, will be nasab. Now remember that these are details about the fi'l itself. If you're gonna ask questions about the doer, for example, whose daughter was the doer, that is not gonna be nasab, because Zainab has nothing to do with the verb. Zainab is related to the daughter, not to the verb. Okay, so nasab is the detail about the fi'l. Now let's have a look at what is jar. Jar is, for now, the word after of. So if you have a sentence and there's a word after of, you know that that word is majroor. So let's see here. The child of his was sleeping. His is gonna be majroor. Why? Because it's the word after of. Zainab's daughter run fast. Zainab is going to be majroor. And why is that the case? Because this sentence, if you really open it up, is the daughter of Zainab. So Zainab is going to be majroor. So to sum up, the rafa is the subject or the dual of the fa'il. The nasab is the object. I'll write that as well. Is the object. Any shows details about the fa'il. And jar is something related to another word, and in this case is the word after of. So we're gonna do some exercises and practice identifying which status each word is. So identify the status of the words highlighted. My sister drinks chocolate milk every day. In what status is the word every day in?
Rafa. Nasab.
Why is it nasab?
Because it's telling you when she did it.
Good. It's nasab because he answers the question when, which happened every day. She does not eat spinach.
Rafa, because it's the dua.
Good. Because she is the doer of the action. She buys chocolate milk happily. Happily?
Nasab, because it tells you how.
Good, because he answers the question how. She bought the stuff, the chocolate milk. She also likes yummy grilled burgers.
Nasab, because it's telling you it's yum.
Nope. It's telling me what she likes, and she likes yummy grilled burgers. So in theory, all of these three words, they're gonna be nasab. But here I only highlighted yummy, which is also going to be nasab, which answer the questions what does she like. My teacher loses her phone often. What is my?
It's a jar.
Why?
Because it's saying who it belongs to.
Yeah, my is the word after of. So if you open it up, is teacher of mine. So the word my is going to be jar. Her phone. What halat is that?
Nasab, because it's telling you what she lost.
Yeah, it's a direct response about the fan. What did she lose? The phone. Allah sent down the Quran.
It's Rafa because it's the dua.
Good. When we have a sentence and we're trying to analyze and the word Allah is mentioned, we have to say the word Allah, because we can't say Allah is Rafa, because that's not a sifa of Allah Azza wa Jal. We're talking here about grammar, so we're gonna say that the word Allah is Rafa out of respect. So the word Allah is Rafa because it's the doer of the action. So in Arabic, how do you recognize the status? We know in English it's easy for us because we know the language, so we know, oh, this is the doer, so this is definitely going to be Rafa. But how do you do that in Arabic? I have here a table which is going to give us every single combination of i'rab that you can have and what does the hala of that word, and what is the hala of that word. So i'rab is the last harkat of a word, or is the suffix. A suffix is something that you add at the end of a word. And so in Arabic, what gives away the status of a word, whether it is rafa, nasab, and jar, is either given by the harkats or is given by the suffixes. So we'll see those right now. So a word that is in halat rafa and it's singular which you can also say mufrad in Arabic, and it's heavy. We'll talk about light and heavy later, but for now, make sure you learn the table. The i'rab is on. Okay, so for example, Muslimun. For nasab, it's a fatha, two fathas, and it's gonna be Musliman, for example. In halat al-jar, it's gonna be two kasras, so muslimin. The light version is one dhamma, so muslimu. So when you see a word that looks like muslimu, then you know that it is a singular word in the state of rafa, and it's light because the i'rab is muslimu. For nasab is one fatha and you have muslima, and for jar is one kasra and you have muslimi. Heavy dual rafa is ani. When you see ani at the end of a word, remember this is a suffix, is the ani that is extra added onto the word and not the ani that is part of the word. Some words in Arabic have ani that is part of the word, and that's not i'rab, that's literally part of the word itself. So ani, the example for that would be muslimani, and then the light version of that is simply an a, muslima. Muslima. You drop off the noon basically. The nasab version is aini. So muslimaini. The light version is a, muslimay. The jar version, which is heavy, is gonna be ina. So the example is muslimina. The light version of that is e. Again, you drop off the noon, so it's gonna be muslimi. For plural, it's a bit different. For plural, you have the feminine and the masculine version for both. So when you have the masculine version for plural, you add una at the end, or una, or you will find in a word una at the end. So for example, muslimuna. For feminine, you find atun at the end. For example, muslimatun. And the light version of rafa, plural for masculine is u. So muslimu. The feminine version is atu. You basically take off the tanween, so is muslimatu. This word is in halat rafa and it's jamurun and it's light. And it's feminine as well because atun is always the ending for the feminine. So then the heavy version for the nasab is ina. Ina. This is, I know the dual and the plural version, they look the same, but they do sound different. So one is muslimaini, this is muslimina. For the feminine is atin. So muslimatin. And for the masculine, again in halat al-jar is ina, muslimina, and for the feminine again is atin. So nasab and jar for dual and plural really are the same. And the light version is e for the masculine, so that's muslimi, and the dual was muslimay. This is muslimi. And for the feminine version is ati. So muslimati. And the light version in halat jar again is e. So muslimi. And for the feminine version is ati. So muslimati. When the word has harkats as i'rab, the last harka is representing the i'rab of that word, you say that this type of i'rab is i'rab bil harka. And in English, you can simply call it ending sound. So when a word ends with an ending sound, the i'rab that you get is un and in or u, a, e, which they're all sounds in their respective states. When you have a suffix that tells you the status, when the i'rab is the suffix, that is called i'rab bil huruf. Huruf means letters, and in fact this kind of i'rab is made up by letters. So una, atul, ani, these are all letters, and these are your ending combinations. Depending on what combination you have, you can tell what status that is. So if you have ani at the end, that's rafa for dual and it's obviously heavy. Or if you have ina, it could be nasab and jar and it's masculine, heavy, and plural as well. So now we're going to be doing an exercise where we will be identifying the status of each word, and if the status you understand it by either the ending combination or the ending sounds. So I've opened the Nahu Fundamentals workbook, which you can either find in the description, or if you have the Google Drive link, it's on there as well. We're going to be doing some exercises from here. But before we do that, I wanted to show you that in here there's also this table that shows you all the the table that we have done, but in more broken up. So here you have the masculine and all the i'rabs that you can get for the masculine plural and feminine as well, and then you even have the i'rabs for the broken plurals, because these are a bit special. Broken plurals, their i'rab is harkats for the jama of them, and obviously the singular is not a broken plural, but the singular words whose plural is broken, their plural is not given by an ending combination, is given by an ending sound. So this table shows it here, whereas we just did this one. We are gonna get two broken plurals later. So now let's go on to the exercise. Even if you don't have the pen like I have to write, you can still open it up on Microsoft Edge and use the tool. They use the drawing pen that they have. It still works with the mouse. It's not too hard to use. Okay, so the word anasu, which status is it?
Rafa.
Is it a sound or a combination?
Sound.
How do you say sound in Arabic? It's i'rab bil harka. Okay. Al-kitaba. What's the status?
Nasab.
Is it sound or combination?
Sound.
Okay, why is it sound? What does it look like in the table?
It doesn't have any or any.
Yeah, so it looks like Muslima. It looks like the word Muslima, the light version of Muslima. So we're gonna say it's a sound. A tip I can give is that always look first if it is going to be a i'rab bil huruf. If you can get the combination out of the way, that's easier. So have a look. Is this word a combination or not? If not, then it's sound. And if it is sound, then look at the harkas and see which status it can be. Number 3, nafsin. What status is that?
Jar. It's sound.
Why are you saying it's jar?
Because it has double kasra.
And what column is this? Would this word be if you substituted the word Muslim with nafs?
The singular one.
Singular and
Mufrad.
yeah, singular mufrad means the same thing. The singular and heavy column. Makithina.
This is nasab and jar.
It could be nasab or jar. A word in Arabic can be both. Because we don't know the context, we don't know which one of these it could be. So we know, however, it could be nasab or jar.
It's a combination.
Good, it's a combination. And what else do you know about this word? In what column was that?
The heavy one. Dual heavy one.
Is this dual? What's the combination for dual? Ani, aini,
Oh, this is plural.
plural. Good. This is plural and is also a heavy plural. And is also what? There's two kinds of
Heavy.
plural.
Oh,
There's masculine and
it's
feminine.
masculine.
So you also know about this word that it can be masculine. So from that table, once you learn it well, you can figure out other properties of this word. Let's do some other ones and then you can complete them on your own. Al-banuna, number 8.
It's rafa. Combination.
What else can you tell me about this word?
It's dual.
Well,
I mean, it's plural.
okay, plural and
It's heavy
heavy
and it's masculine.
good. Okay, the word sabiran, number 12.
This one is nasab.
Yes, is nasab and it's
sound.
yes, it's sound. Some people could get confused and they say that oh, this is a rafa, and it's a combination because it's sabira, so it's like the light version of sabirani. But obviously that's not the case because you have the tanween here, and the tanween here will show you that this is not the dual form, but rather it's just sabiran, which is the mufrad version. The alif here is added because when a word ends with fathatain in Arabic, you usually put a alif there. That's just the way the words are written. Number 24, sultan, the sultanin.
That one. Jar.
Jar and
Sound.
sound. So this is an example of when I was saying that some words they have ani as part of the word itself. The word sultan is not dual because ani is not a suffix of this word. Ani is not i'rab bil huruf. Ani is part of the word itself. So the i'rab of this is actually going to be i'rab bil harka. So that is a sound and it's going to be in halat jar. Okay, ar-rubu'u.
Rafa. Sound.
Number 35, lighulamaini.
Nasab or jar.
Good. This word can be either nasab or jar, and it is
Combination.
good. It's combination. And what else can you tell me about this word? What column is it?
It's dual heavy and
Good.
it's masculine.
No, it doesn't have to be masculine. The only difference is in plural.
Oh.
The feminine also have ani and aini attached at the end, but the plural is not una ina. The plural is atun atin or atu and ati. But this word is masculine, but we're gonna touch upon what words are feminine later. Okay, let's do qa'imatan number 30.
Jar. I mean, rafa. I mean, nasab. Sorry.
Nasab and it's
Sound.
okay. Samawatin.
It's nasab or jar.
Nasab and jar
Combination.
and it is a combination.
It is plural and feminine.
Plural and feminine, and it's also a heavy word. Okay, so now you can complete these exercises on your own after, or you can pause here and complete it. And I'm gonna now move on to the importance of status and why it's very crucial that we learn it. So I have here the sentence. the Quranic ayah actually. قتل داود جالوت. Okay, that's your fi'l. Then you have Dawudu, and he has a Rafa. And you know the Rafa represents the doer of the action. So Dawood is the one that's doing the Qatala. Qatala means to kill. So Dawood killed Jalut. This has a fatha. So you know that that is nasab, and nasab is the detail of a verb. So Dawood killed Jalut. Okay, and I have here the same sentence, Qatala Jaluta Dawud, but here I've just swapped the order, but I didn't change the i'rab. Okay, this is still Dawudu and this is still Jaluta, which means that when I'm translating the sentence, you're still gonna translate it as Dawud killed Jalut. In English, if you were to mix up the words and say that killed Jalut, Dawud, that either doesn't make sense, or you change the um, meaning of the sentence. You can't say Jalut killed Dawood, because that would obviously be going against the Quran. No, that would mean that you're changing the meaning of the Quran. And even in this last sentence here, Dawudun qatala Jalut, even though Dawud comes first and is not second, you know, the meaning of the sentence still doesn't change. And why is the meaning of the sentence not changing? Because of the i'rab here, because of the status that these words have. And this is important. This is why it's very important to understand the rafa, the nasab, and the jar state in Arabic, because without understanding the status of a word, you won't understand the meaning of the sentence itself. Now finish off the exercise if you haven't already, or if you have, you can go and live your life. I shall see you all tomorrow to continue learning Arabic. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. Assalamu alaikum everybody.